right. Hello and welcome, guys, to the Improvement Season podcast. This time with me, or as always, Pascal Flor. But on the other end, I exchanged the person who's sitting on the other end. That is this time Miguel and not Steve, because Steve is living the online coaching lifestyle. Pina coladas, beach, all that kind of stuff. He flew to Spain and yeah, it's just living the dream. But how about you, Miguel? How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you, Pascal. I'm enjoying myself here in the very cold Canada, while Steve is hanging out with his homeless people in Spain, chilling on the beach.
Exactly. My saying. See, it already made the rumors over to Canada, even.
Yeah, well, I mean, Steve, refused to book a hotel, so now he can just hang on the beach.
Yeah, I don't know how cold it is still in Spain, but I think 15 degrees is decent enough, right? In comparison to Canada.
Oh yeah, in Canada, we're at the point now where if it's above minus 15 degrees, it's basically considered a summer day.
Oh God. Oh God. Hey, that's really nothing for me. I just complained today because I was actually at my hairstylist. If you haven't noticed so far, and I was just complaining about the weather outside. But this is so typical German. Like the first thing you are actually doing is to complain about the weather. But yeah, I mean, so Miguel, I know that you are a busy man, and usually we catch up on the week, and I think you have quite a lot to talk about, right? So I will just leave the microphone to you this time and just lean back and listen.
Cool. So I'll start with, I guess I could catch people up with where I'm at with school, and then I can catch people up. We can go into training, because I do that as well. I'm not just a scientist, contrary to popular belief. But yeah, so for the people listening, basically where I've been at is that I'm in the final weeks of my degree of nutritional biochemistry at McGill University in Canada. And now I'm trying to decide where I'm going to go to for my master's degree. So for people to know, I've been admitted into all the schools I applied to, which is South Florida, Florida Atlantic University, Auckland University of Technology, and Columbia University. So I have been driving Steve and Pascal just a little bit crazy with all the options that I've been given, and trying to contemplate them all.
I find it really interesting because McGill University is already a renowned university in it for itself. Even for someone who's sitting in Germany, I know about that university. But then the options you have for your masters are just like insane. And for me, it's just super interesting. But have you ever gotten any kind of flack from people in your environment for that? Have you felt like they envied you for the decisions you have in front of you or something like that?
I think that, yeah, definitely so. I think that I catch a lot of flack from people when they, a lot of people don't know what they're doing and don't know where they're heading. And even here at McGill University, people are finishing their degrees and they just aren't quite sure. And I think that a lot of people kind of give me flack or envy for how much I know what I want to do. Like I have a dead set target on what I want to do, where I want to be, and just kind of work my butt off doing it. And I think that can cause people to just feel a little bit intimidated, or maybe like a little bit bad sometimes, because when you see someone, whether, we see it in diet constantly, when you're so determined to track your macros and lose weight, and on your contest prep, and when people see you with such determination, they can't help but to feel a little bit bad. So yeah, sometimes I catch just a little bit of flack, or sometimes I almost get, how people in fitness get the fit shaming. Sometimes I get like the study shaming, where it's like, well, like, of course you know all this stuff. That's all you do with yourself. Like, how could you do all that just all day? How can you read all those research papers? It's like, it's what I love.
Yeah. No, and because of that, I think it's so easy for you to actually go down that road. It's like, when you just think about it, when there's something, I think that we all know something that we do love. And if we could, we would spend the entire day in doing that. And when you then really think about that, it's not really that much of a surprise that you are actually taking most of the time of your day to actually do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually kind of funny because Well, if right now you were to decide, okay, well, I want to go to Columbia University, or you were to look at all the people that want to go to an Ivy League school, it's people that have pretty much dedicated their entire life at getting into an Ivy League school. And what my mom and I were kind of laughing at is that I found something that I'm so passionate about that I did so many cool things that it got me into an Ivy League school. Like, yes, at the end of the day, I had to try to, get my GRE scores and grades, but all the resume, all the stuff that the Ivy League schools really, really care about, and the internships and the work experience, I did all that just straight out of passion, not even trying to get into an Ivy League school.
Yeah. No, I find it really interesting because it just goes to show again that how far you can come when you are focusing on just doing the work instead of having an outcome goal or so. Because I see it all the time. And I mean, once again, training and nutrition is such a great example with that as well. People want to get like super shredded, but aren't willing to do what it takes to actually get there. And the same applies to, and then they fail in their process, right? And you see it all the time with different goals in life. And when it comes to that as well, I mean, so many people are aspiring to go to that school, for example, or to get rich, get the job of their the job they wanted, but have not really worked for it. They thought that someone is actually giving that to them, like because, right? But that's not how life works. And the other way around, that's why I'm such a huge fan of process oriented goals, like doing what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. And when you're then doing a great job, opportunities will arise in front of you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's kind of, I think that's an approach that you, me, and Steve just have towards life in general, is that we just like put in the work, put our head down, do everything we can to succeed. And then all the opportunities kind of arise from that. And I think that it has paid off massively. And I'm really, really excited to just kind of like let people know where I end up going. I think that no matter what, at this point, I've kind of brokered myself some good deals into
Yeah,
everything in
absolutely.
school.
Man, it doesn't even matter where which route you're taking. It's funny because off air, like a couple of days ago, when Miguel, Steve, and Ryan and I caught up, was like I brought up the analogy of you being at a crossroad, and there is one time the path leading into the darkness, and one time the path leading into the happy environment with a sunshine, bunnies jumping on the green, right? But for you, you are at a crossroad, and both paths are just like sunshine, bunnies jumping around happily, and all that kind of stuff. So whatever you do and whatever you decide to do is it's going to be a great decision, no matter what.
Thank you. I really, really do appreciate that, and I think I think you're right. And then in terms of training, kind of the point where I've been at, because I guess the listeners aren't quite familiar with what's been happening, is that a few, I think like a year and a half ago, I got a disc hernia between L4 and L5, the classics. Um, and I've just been working at healing. The pain got incredibly bad, and I've just kind of been working to repair that. I've been working with Dr. Quinn Hannock, who I can't recommend highly enough, and he has just been doing a fantastic job of getting my back up to speed. And it's amazing because now that my back is feeling better, everything else is coming into play, because now I can kind of push myself harder with every movement. When your back is tweaked up like that, nothing comes right, because when you're getting close to failure, you are going to end up moving your form just a little bit, and just that tiny shift in form was enough to cause pain from my fingertip to my toenail.
What caused the herniated disc? Was there any kind of trigger for it, or was it just a degradation over time?
I don't know. So if we kind of look at a sample population of people, just a random population of people, we are going to find that people are going to have disc hernias and be completely asymptomatic.
Yeah.
And some people can go on and just live their life like that, and we will never know better. And then some people, just one tiny movement can really cause just a little bit of rupture, and then some fluid is going to hit on the sciatic nerve, and then you're gonna just feel a ridiculous amount of pain. And for me, I think I was part of that, just in the asymptomatic population, that just one tiny thing really triggered it, because I was warming up for deadlifts, and I was just using 135 pounds, so 45 pounds, 20 kilos each side, and just on the eccentric part of it, all of a sudden I heard a pop and I felt something slide, and I was on the
Oh,
floor with pain. Just it
God.
was probably the most painful moment of my life. I was just on the floor, and I was in an empty gym. This was I think it was around lunchtime. So I was just there chilling for like 20 minutes, just praying that I wasn't paralyzed.
Before anyone got in there and you were just like, hey, what's up,
No
mate?
one got in there. I just kind of like almost passed out in pain, and then eventually was able to like crawl myself back up and call an Uber to go home.
For real? Did you really call an Uber?
Well, I called an Uber to actually. I called an Uber to take me to the pharmacy to buy painkillers, and then I went home.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, I once heard, but I because I never really looked into herniated discs and the research on that. But I once heard that in professional NFL players, that 90% of the athletes there have not symptoms of herniated disc, but they have herniated disc. So it's like you said, that you are kind of the minority when it comes to actually experiencing the symptoms, but so many people actually do have that as well, but don't experience any kind of discomfort along with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, and that's interesting you brought it up because that's actually I played American football for 8 to 10 years, something like that. So one of my kind of theories is that I probably did it while playing American football because I would get just a ridiculous amount of back pain, and I was a defensive lineman, so that's kind of where you take the most amount of hits from the biggest people.
Yeah. At what age were you playing NFL? Well, NFL,
I
American football, NFL.
made the NFL when I was 12 years old. No,
Yeah.
I played from I think 11. I was 7 years. I think I played from 11 to 18.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have morbus Scheuermann's disease, also Scheuermann's disease, which is kind of a deformation in your vertebrae as well. Because of that, most of the time, it is more common that people are experiencing a severe kind of kyphosis. But in rare cases, you can actually see that people have more of a lordosis in their on their upper back, which I do have. I have more of a straight spine. And this happens in your adolescence years simply because the spine is still a little bit softer. And if it isn't detected by accident most of the time, then you can't do anything about it anymore because it's hardening up the older you're getting. And now, especially in your adult years, when it's then detected, you can't reverse it anymore because the joints and stuff are just hardened up. And this is happening in the adolescence years. So maybe it is the same for you during a time where there was much pressure on your spine. It just caused some kind of deformity or degradation already in the earlier years because the joints, tendons, ligaments, everything which is involved there is a little bit softer.
It could be. I hope that once Dr. Hannock and I are done, I no longer have pain because if anyone out there has had chronic pain, it's literally like, I'm a very happy-go-lucky person, and when my back just flares up and I'm in pain for like let's say like an 8 out of 10 pain for a week straight, that's one of the few things that have gotten me down in life.
No, no, absolutely. I can see that. I mean, right now, you know yourself that, or you heard it probably with my back. I have it ever since 2014, and it
Yeah.
always flared up, always flared up. And also with the hip, right? If I'm too assertive when it comes to training volume, I aggravate that area again, and it's just chronic. Right? It's not like, I don't know. Every once in a while, we experience that we have a niggling, aching pain here and there, but that is normal. That is just part of resistance training. But when there's one part of your body that is always giving you some kind of a response, and you know that it will never go away, no matter how much mobility and preventive measures you're taking, it will always be there because it may be, I don't know, degraded, or it has been severely injured in the past, and now it's just a little bit more susceptible to that. It's just sucked so much, and also it has a mental toll on you.
Yeah, I think that I've heard you say that you almost feel like you get betrayed by your own body sometimes. Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember feeling exactly
It's
like that.
ridiculous because My mind wants more than my body is capable of doing. And I think that this is a common trait, especially for bodybuilders, that they are so caught up in their own progress and their own training that they would love to actually just live in the gym, right? And there was definitely a time where, mate, I was training twice daily as well, right? And but my body couldn't handle that. And especially now that I know that it can't handle that, it's even more frustrating because it is kind of the, okay, I can't have it, thus I do want it even more.
Exactly. And I think it's hard for us as coaches because I remember when my back was really flared up. You always want to kind of be in touch with what you're prescribing clients. And
Yeah.
when I was so out of touch with what pushing myself was like, I found that it took me a little bit of time to kind of find the balance between not giving something that was too easy or too hard. It kind of, because you do things based on experience, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're just so out of touch with being able to push yourself, that kind of took a little bit of toll on me. I don't know if you've experienced something like that.
No, absolutely. Especially, I've been dealing with something like imposter syndrome since my entire life, basically. Yeah. Each and every single time I'm doing something or starting something, I quickly come to the realization, typically the Dunning-Kruger effect, that I know nothing actually, right? And even though I don't know if it's typical or a common thing, but even though you are investing more and more and more time and you are learning more and more, you have the feeling that you'll never get to the end. And it kind of makes sense, especially like in the realms we are in, scientific realms and stuff. There are so many things, and you're limited on time. You can't know anything. That can't know everything. That is, of course, I'm rational when it comes to that, and I'm also realistic when it comes to that. But still, especially when you then practice something that you preach, and all of a sudden you can't do that. It's like as if someone is taking knowledge away from you, which you shared before that, and now you simply can't talk about it anymore. I don't know. I have the feeling that's kind of similar to that.
No, I totally get it. It's the absolute worst. So kind of discussed my training, my education, where I'm going to be getting my exercise science applied physiology degree. But how has your training week and diet been, Pascal?
Yeah, so currently dieting, and it was the first week actually where I struggled, or not really struggled, but where I've dealt a little bit with hunger. I'm getting really close now to the 80 kilo mark. Haven't
Nice.
been around that mark since now close to, wait a second. So 2017 in summertime, I was at 75 kilograms for the contest prep. But ever since then, especially quickly after, I just increased the scale weight by a huge amount, like in a short period of time. So I would say since summer 2017, I haven't been at that current scale weight, which is quite amazing. And I definitely can tell that I put on also a decent amount of muscle mass. Still, I'm tiny, I feel. Like yesterday, it's so funny because yesterday I met up with a current client of mine and a past client of mine. And we trained at the gym from Tim, so the current client of mine. And there was a friend of his. He's called Dario, 20 years old. And I hardly have ever seen such a density and maturity for a natural 20-year-old. And he never competed before. He's now aspiring to actually step on stage this year for the first time. 20 years old, mate. And you should have seen him.
Yeah.
And I basically like asked him, are you even aware of how great of a potential you have? And of course he didn't, right? Because he's simply not in that realm and around people who are like him. And mate, you should have seen him. Like pictures didn't do him justice at all. At all. And beside him, I was just standing there and I was so embarrassed with myself because he was massive. I actually
Like
sent pictures.
Canyon.
Yeah, I actually sent, or I said to Tim and Chrissy, and also then I sent Steve a message like afterwards and said like, mate, he's looking enhanced. And I have no reason to believe that he is, especially not at the age of 20. It's not that easy to get your hands on stuff I would assume in Germany, because it is illegal here. It's not like in the UK where there may be a bigger incentive, and also because the consequences aren't as drastic as here in Germany. That there's kind of, I don't know, people may be a little bit more susceptible because it's so easier to get your hands on that, and the consequences when you are, I mean, it's legal to use it, I think. There aren't really any kind of consequences. Thus, the barrier isn't really there. But here in Germany, I mean, it's first and foremost illegal, same as in the US and Canada, I would assume as well. And thus, I have no reason to believe that a 20-year-old actually is on gear, when he's also claiming to want to compete at the GNBF, which is kind of the German affiliate of the WNBF. So, yeah.
That's crazy. It's kind of like how when one sees, I don't know if you kept up when Jeff Nippard's friend and client Patty went up against Josh Kenyon. And it's like, here you have someone who's been coaching for years. He's a super knowledgeable guy. He's been training for years, and he lost to a kid. I mean, Josh deserved it, but you know, when it's like that famous saying that when talent works hard, there's just nothing you can do.
This was just like kind of such a great example. Mate, I went in there, right? And I saw him, and I had to chat with him because it was insane. You should have seen his quads. Absolutely nuts. And just like the overall amount of muscle mass for a 20-year-old. It was just like, I said basically to Tim, put him in a pool of 100 people and he will stand out, because it was just such an outlier. But yeah, to get back to what I wanted to say is, now that I'm 80 kilograms, yes, I put on a decent amount of muscle mass, but still, like the total amount of muscle mass I have is not really high. So if I want to be somewhat competitive, I have to be so shredded. I probably need to have striations on my penis. Not kidding.
Then you can post it up on Instagram.
And then I'm posting it on Instagram, yeah. But I probably have to mask him a little bit. Maybe put, I don't know, a mustache on him or so, and some glasses, so that it's not getting blocked or so.
I don't know how like the ass pictures don't get blocked. I've always wondered that. Like, when people get really, really shredded.
And sometimes it's just like, there's nothing else than an ass to see.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it's rated pornography. Like, honestly,
definitely.
It's quite funny because I don't remember that I ever talked about it. Maybe I did. And there was a time where when I got onto Instagram and I clicked on this search finder, right? There's always like suggestions and recommendations in your field with the hashtags you liked in the past. And there are some coaches out there, mostly female coaches. So I'm not bashing on females when they're showing their glutes, but mostly female coaches. And the funny thing is, what I then did, because it was looking like as if they are porn stars, right? And then I looked up porn stars over on Instagram, because they got some profiles as well. And don't ask me where I know the names from. I have no. I googled them. No, and then I looked it up on Instagram, and their profiles were less sexual or pornographic than from the PTs, and that is speaking for itself. And I still have the pictures on my phone. I can share that if people want me to show that as a proof. I can do that, and then you can decide for yourself who's the porn star and who's not. It was insane, and it just like, I don't know. It's funny because just recently I talked with Brett Freeman a little bit about Instagram, and I think by now people know that I'm not the so fond of Instagram. There are great things about it, but there are also so many things I just despise, and that is one of them. Like, I don't know.
No, for sure. And you know what I kind of laugh at sometimes, that is almost like porn star, like, not the guys and girls do it on both platforms, is when people do like the clothing haul videos where they're trying on like different small bikinis and swimsuits, and it's like, this could literally be on a porn site.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so conflicted at the same time because they make a lot of money out of it, right?
Mhm.
And if that's their main intent, who's to blame? I mean, there are other people who are making a living out of their body, and why not then use it like this? That's why I'm really conflicted with that, and I try to not see it as a black and white thing, but at the same time, I can't help it to be just like, sorry, I can't respect that at the same time. So, but yeah, other than that, diet is going well. The weight wasn't behaving the way I would like to, but I think now that I analyzed it more in depth and I gave it a little bit of time, I found the reason for it, and that is just like a fluctuation in when I have my last meal of the day and what type of meal it is. Whether I have a big salad or just something tiny just plays a huge role in the scale weight the next morning. And yeah, it's going down, and that's all that counts. I'm not in a rush. I have no deadline. The goal is to get leaner, and that's what's happening at the moment. And thus, I can't really complain. But soon, I will probably take a diet break, which was set anyway at the 10-week mark. Now it's probably first going to happen at the 11th week mark, because of the last mesocycle I extended by 1 week. But yeah, soon I'll probably have to take one. I can slowly feel the symptoms that, or the indicators that tell me to take one.
And your training has still all been good, still moving up.
Yeah, so today was a little bit hard to get up in the morning because I was still a little bit fatigued from everything that is going on at the moment, because especially that this week now, when Katie and Hugo have been away on holiday, I wanted to do lots of things. So work related, but also so I went to the hairdresser. Doesn't sound really stressful, but just getting there takes me a little bit of time. Then physiotherapy sessions. I'm going to see my doctor here tomorrow for my knee. We did an MRI scan for that one. Then I'm doing my driver's license for my motorbike now.
Nice.
And yeah, so all these kind of things, of course, play into it as well, and leave me a little bit drained already. But other than that, it's actually going well, so I can't really complain on that front.
Do you have a car right now, or do you have to like take transit to all your places?
No, so the good thing is that yeah, Katie owns a car, and yeah, ever since I'm together with her, I have a car myself, right?
Man, I need that. You know, as a student, I have to take the transit everywhere. So you just saying go get a haircut, like it takes me an hour and a half to get to my hairdresser.
Yeah, and it's crazy because before I was together with her, I was living more so in the middle of Berlin, or midst of Berlin, and I was riding my bike everywhere. Basically, I was
Neat.
because I hate it. Still hate public transportation. I don't know, that the crowd, especially in wintertime when it's so snug, people are sick and ill and are just like, I don't know, as if they are making out so close, are they standing next to each other? And I simply don't like it. And especially when something breaks down, then you have to wait. And I'm just too impatient for that. Normally, I'm super lean back, relaxed. But when it comes to my patience, when it's public transportation or things aren't going the way I would like to, like publicly, I really don't like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I have no patience whatsoever when I'm also standing at the cashiers at the supermarket or so, and I have to wait just to that it's my turn. I don't know. Even though if it's only like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe it's the generation of us, right? So instant gratification and stuff, and it just hits me hard whenever I'm in the supermarket or riding the train. But that's just not my thing.
So if I go to Colombia, you can come visit me. We'll ride the subway all day and talk to crazy people.
Yeah, I've been once to New York, and it was so crazy. I mean, it was also in the midst of a blizzard, so everyone was also sitting in the metro, and yeah. But that would be amazing, mate. Colombia, the pictures you posted and the videos of Colombia, insane university.
They have, I think I was telling you that they have 3D projectors like in Star Wars.
That's
And then
crazy.
you step outside and you have, well, actually, not the Columbia area, but you just speaking of the subway just reminded me that I was shocked because in movies and video games and stuff like that, you always see like the crazy people talking about like the end of the world and scaring everyone and drawing a cloud. I thought that wasn't true. I thought that was just kind of a meme. And then I went to New York and every block there's someone talking about the end of the world.
Crazy. So maybe next time you want to go there when there's a blizzard, because they weren't standing on the street when I was there.
The funny part is that New York seemed like summer compared to Montreal.
So you were just fully prepared for that.
I was there chilling in a hoodie and like not even a hat or anything like that. And my mom was coming over from Houston, Texas, and we were walking and I felt bad. She was legitimately shaking.
No, but yeah. So Miguel, now that we have you on, would you like to answer some questions?
Cool, let's do it.
Yeah. So the first one is from Jan. I don't know whether it is Jan, so our man Jan Frisse, possibly, but Jan is quite a common name, especially in the northern part of Germany. So Jan, did you ever? Yeah. Never heard of the name Jan?
I heard it once before.
It's actually quite common, especially in the northern part. When I was going to high school, I think I had like 4 or 5 friends who was called Jan, and 2 in my class even. It's quite common. But he asked, did you ever experience difficulties mini cutting during winter flu season due to reduced amount of food, just recovering worse in general when you're running an aggressive caloric deficit? I started a mini cut a week ago and got the flu pretty much right away. Obviously, there is no way to tell if there was any casual relationship, but it got me thinking nonetheless. I've decided to delay my mini cut until I get rid of this flu. So basically, Jan is asking, like, is it or did you experience any kind of differences when you are mini cutting, or maybe with clients of yours, due to the season, and especially how your mini cut is impacted by something like just a typical cold?
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of different ways to look at it. The first way that we can look at it is by entering something like a mini cut. Of course, you're cutting calories quite aggressively, and that can have a big impact on your immune system. The immune system and the muscular system are very tied in together, especially when calories are low. The immune system can take quite a hit, and things that you might have been able to fight off, or sometimes you feel your throat a little bit sore at night and you wake up and you're like, oh man, yes, I'm fine. That can turn into a full-blown cold. The other thing that can happen is that we have seen in the literature that when you are doing, like, for example, a high training volume, and then you drop it down significantly, that can actually have an effect on the immune system, where we do see people getting a little bit sick. Mostly it has been done on people who are doing like a really high training volume and then drop down to not training at all. And that can actually cause them to get just a little bit sick, catch a cold, something like that. But I do think that if we're typically in the mini cut, we're going from a high volume, bulk calories, going from that to dropping down volume and low calories, I think that could have an effect on the immune system.
So with the training volume, I know that in the last issue of Mass, they were talking about that as well, or they looked and compared highly trained athletes in comparison to sedentary people, and realized that the ones who are training like with really high volumes, that they are more susceptible to actually catching a cold or so, or getting ill in general. But when you are actually doing less volume, which you said there right now, and you stated that was from the scientific literature, why do you think that is the case? Because you would assume that you're doing less now and you should be a little bit fresher, a little bit better recovered, and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm not quite sure, but we do see it in other areas. I think that it's something like your immune system is maybe just so engaged that when it finally gets a chance to almost like relax, you almost just see kind of it just goes way too far down the other way. I don't know, Pascal, if you probably know this for when you study for an exam or you have a really, really stressful period of your life, you typically get sick right afterwards. For example, after my GRE is probably the sickest I've ever been. Not really sick, but the worst cold I've ever gotten. So I think that we do see it in other areas. Typically, it's when we have a big business deadline or exam or something like that, when we get ourselves all riled up and then finally relax, we do see people getting sicker in those situations.
No, definitely. I've experienced that a couple of times in the past. And it's funny because when you are working in a big office or so many people are just in your typical life, people around you in your environment, they are making fun of, okay, I took or went on holiday and I got ill. And that is so often the case that people, when they actually have some downtime, they have the ability to rest and recover. All of a sudden, they're catching a cold during that time.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I'm sure that there is some sort of reason behind it. Unfortunately, immunology is not in my field, but I would actually love to know why that is, because it happens to me 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, no. And when it comes to, so just to give my take on the mini cutting thing and whether there's something about it and whether the seasons kind of influence that as well. Sure. I mean, we would just assume that during the winter time, you're more susceptible to that because the people around you, more people are ill. And also due to the dryness in the air, you are just more susceptible to catching a cold as well. And then in conjunction with possibly a lower caloric intake because of the aggressive nature of the caloric deficit, in conjunction with the training, you have now a harder time to actually recover from that. Thus, if you don't change things up drastically in your training protocol, which you probably don't want to, because you want to not to lose any kind of muscle mass during a mini cut, with all that in mind, with all the external factors as well, in conjunction with the caloric deficit and the amount of training and the intensity, which now increases if you aren't changing things up simply because of the caloric deficit nature, I think you are more susceptible, or just the susceptibility for you getting ill is just highly increased. And I think that there may be something to it because the odds are just higher around you to actually catch a cold.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel bad sometimes, but in the winter time when people are coughing around me in the library, I will literally move spots because
Yeah.
everyone is sick. And I think that there's also something to be said about. I think I made a YouTube video about this a while ago about the typical cycle that we see as people will bulk in the summer and cut in the winter. I think that the winter for me personally is the time that I wouldn't want to mini cut because winter time is already a more stressful time. I mean, the days are shorter, it's cold outside. And personally, for me here in Canada and maybe in other colder climates, if I'm mini cutting, I don't want to have to trek through snow for 20 minutes because my energy is so low that if I have to fight against the wind and snow and basically all the elements to get to where I want to go, I'm going to arrive there pissed off.
It's funny, actually, the irony in that. And I mean, the irony in the typical bodybuilding cut and bulk cycle, because most people are actually then bulking, right, into the or over the winter time, and then they are starting to cut. But sometimes it simply doesn't work out like that, especially if you're a competitor. So what I mean by that is I find it super easy to cut during the summertime. However, sometimes you are not in a position where you are cutting during that time because your plan doesn't align with that. And then the winter comes around and you start to cut. But I would also assume, just from a physiological perspective, that it's harder to cut in the winter, not just due to need levels, getting out, walking around, but just from a physiological perspective, your need is probably decreased simply because it's a little bit colder outside. And because it's colder outside, I would just assume because our nature is still so much in us, or the ancestors are still so much present in us, that we may be, from a metabolic standpoint, be more susceptible to fat gain. But I don't know if that's just a theory. But Miguel, I know that you can probably answer that one. Would there be a higher susceptibility if your climate is tending to be a little bit colder than in warmer areas?
I think that any difference there would probably be due to NEAT and just the overall movement that we get in the summer. I mean, if personally, if I think to myself, the movement that I usually get in the summer compared to the movement that I'm getting in, I probably get twice as many steps in the summer, and I probably walk around and do stuff. I would guess it's a few hundred calories that I spend more in the summer compared to the winter, especially if you live in a really, really cold place like Canada.
So you wouldn't, I have really no idea. And that's why I'm just curious and asking, because on one hand, it sounds plausible, but at the same time, I don't think that would make such a huge difference. But just theoretically speaking, let's just say people from, I don't know, Alaska or Northern Pole. Yeah, let's say someone on the North Pole is training there, living there, super harsh and cold environment, or in Siberia or so, right? And someone who's living in LA, right? 15 to 40 degrees all year round. Would you think, because of the thermic effect, and I mean the thermic effect when you have that stored energy from fat tissue, that the body would be more susceptible, or do you still think that it's just coming down to something like NEAT levels?
I think that if you're in a really, really cold place, I think that we would actually see an increase in metabolic rate just because of the energy that would be dissipated through thermoregulation. And I think that we would probably see an increase in the energy dissipated through brown adipose tissue, because we do need to see a lot of an increase in energy. Typically, if we look at people that have to go to a really, really cold climate, they're having to put calories in their body any way possible.
Why, just to play devil's advocate then, because I know that there was a trend at some time where they were offering yoga classes. One class was more in a cooler environment, and the other class in a hot and heated environment. And it seemed like people are expending more calories when the heat is, or when they are in a heated environment, because the body works harder to keep them actually cool, instead of the other way around, when it's cool outside, to keep them actually warm.
I think that if we are to test either extremes, I think it would be easier to put someone, I think it would be easier to induce an environment where the body has to work towards getting cooler. But if we are to, if we do a yoga class in cold, by cold, we're looking at maybe 0 degrees.
Yeah.
I think that if we were to put someone, let's say in like 40-degree heat versus like minus 30 to 40-degree cold, we'd probably see people expending more and more energy to keep themselves warm. But by definition, like cold yoga isn't actually cold. It's maybe in around 0 degrees, but not like minus 20.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just wanted to play a devil's advocate here.
So I do know how you like to do that.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question, and that is from Tyler Luke. Who or what is your favorite fitness YouTube channel at the moment, and who are your role models or idealize outside of the fitness world? Squad. So Miguel,
outside.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
So favorite YouTube channel, Revive Stronger, shameless plug. Subscribe button.
Yeah, we need the subscribers. People always comment that we have so few. Well, they are always surprised how many subscribers we actually do have, because they always say we need more. So yeah, we maybe we are doing something wrong when it comes to the marketing, or maybe we are just too not sexy enough.
We need Steve to flex more.
Yeah, something like that, maybe.
My favorite YouTube channel, my favorite fitness YouTube channel, I think would be Jeff Nippard. I know that's probably a lot of people, but I actually Jeff is a close friend, and I do some work for him. So I really, really do enjoy his videos. When it's kind of something like when you know what goes into something, like the tremendous amount of effort that Jeff puts into it, it makes me appreciate his videos just that much more, because there's so much that like those videos are such high quality for a reason. So I really do appreciate those. My people that I really look up to outside of fitness, and YouTube channel that I like outside of fitness. Um, hmm. I think that this is also kind of gonna sound typical, but I like Neil deGrasse Tyson quite a bit. I admire him for his ability to take really, really complex things and things that he could probably write a whole book about and breaking it down into 1 to 3 sound bites. I think that is just amazing to be able to have that level of scientific communication. And it is something that I strive to do. I think that it's something that probably Eric Helms has really, really developed quite well. It's one of the things that he is admired for. So I think that if one could develop that, that's just something to truly admire. And he also went to Columbia, so I like him. What about you, Pascal?
So when it comes, it's going to be quite similar. So when it comes to the fitness YouTube channels, I've never been really into fitness YouTube kind of stuff. Never. So the only channels I've been watching in the past were like Omar Isurf and Jeff Nippard. All the others, never really been my thing. So, but also the same things as you mentioned when it comes to Jeff Nippard. I just appreciate the quality he puts out. He combines the vlogging lifestyle, which I'm not really fond of, with just really great information. And it's not just like bro-ish kind of idiotic dogmatic stuff that he's putting out. And at the same time, I'm super pedantic when it comes to that. He's doing a tremendous job when it comes to actually just the layout, the designs, the video editing. He's putting in so much work and effort, and you just have to give him props for that. And he is, in my opinion, at least I've never seen anyone doing something like that in the fitness industry before, or at least not that I'm aware of. The amount of quality, so from the information standpoint, but also at the same time, the layout, the design, the video editing is just like super, super high. And that needs to be appreciated. And at the same time, he's a super humble guy.
He's one of the nicest people I've met. That just makes it so much better.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in every kind of way, I just want to support him because he's doing a tremendous job in every shape and form. And yeah, that just has to be respected and has to be appreciated because, yeah, I mean, that's not really that common, especially someone who's getting more and more successful. I've seen it with people, especially also back in the days where from my music days, made people who all of a sudden got like their contract, been signed by a major company or actually something like Universal or so, been touring, recording, all that kind of stuff. And for some people, the fame was not good for them, not healthy for them, and turned them into like, not really great people, to be honest. Or maybe it just revealed who they truly are. Could always be the case, right? But yeah, Jeff is just like a super down-to-earth and humble guy, and the amount of quality he's putting out is just like, just amazing, to be honest. So yeah, fitness YouTube channel. I don't know many, but if I have to pick one, that is probably the one. And when it comes to idols outside of fitness, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, amazing character. Like really, you just have to love listening to him. Super entertaining at the same time, as also super knowledgeable. I mean, it's not really a surprise when you know what he actually does. And I mean, something like quantum physics is not really an easy realm to be in. Actually, probably the most complex field there is when it comes to physics. And other than that, this might be or sound a little bit controversial, but I'm not a conservative when it comes to politics. I really am not. I'm a liberal, right? But someone I really do respect, simply due to the way he speaks and the way he thinks, and also the way, he just communicates and debates, is Ben Shapiro.
Nice.
It is I mean, it's unbelievable hearing him in a debate. Also, when you dig into his history, where he comes from, what he did, what he went through, I think he was the youngest graduate from from Harvard Law School, or the youngest who got there or so. I mean, he is, and you can hear it just in the way he speaks, that he is a super knowledgeable and smart individual. Yes, from a political standpoint, there are things I don't get along with, but that doesn't really matter, because when it comes to politics, you're not trying to find a cult. You're finding a party that aligns with most of your morals and ethical views the most. That doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything they are putting out, but with most, right? So when it comes just to the democracy in Germany, many parties here. It's not like in the US. Basically, it's mostly Democrats and Republicans, but of course there are liberals, but most of the time it's just a battle between the Democrats and the Republicans. And in Germany, there are so many parties actually, ranging from extreme lefts up to the extreme rights, and you're just trying to find a party that actually aligns with your views the most. And Ben Shapiro is, from a political standpoint, not the one I would say aligns with me the most, but when you listen to him and also the way he talks, and you can just hear how, at least that is also a good skill by a politician, to make it seem like he does know a lot and he's a great debater and stuff like that. But to me, it seems like he is fantastic at critical thinking as well. It's fantastic also to listen and appreciate the other perspective and then give his take on things. And I wouldn't say I idolize him, but whenever I hear him speak, and also I like seeing and watching videos of him on YouTube, because it always astonishes me when he's talking.
I think that it's definitely a skill, like, to debate and to public speak. And I think that we can admire people's skills without necessarily being like, okay, yeah, what he says is gold.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so funny, because people have the feeling that they aren't allowed to say something like that if there's, I don't know, especially in Germany, because due to the past and history, right, when there's a right extremist camp sitting there. I would believe, okay, I'm really fully against something like that, but I would believe that those people, there are probably things that you agree with. Probably not from an extreme perspective when it comes to their ideals or so, but just from a normal discussion with a human individual, right? There are probably things that you will agree with, and that is absolutely all right. Everyone is human, and just because they have different political views or religious views or beliefs, that doesn't make them like from another species or so. And I have the feeling that many people treat other people like that, who are falling, especially in the realms of something like religion or political views, that they are so separated, and that nothing is similar, or that there's nothing you agree on. And that's not entirely true. And I think that you can appreciate other people and some of their views or some of their character traits, even though that there are things that you may even despise or disagree with.
No, for sure. And I think that I totally respect you for being able to kind of separate the skills from the person and still be able to say, hey, that's something that I would like to be able to do at one point.
Yeah. So should we move on to the next question?
Let's do it.
So where's our man? So I don't know, Miguel, are you sometimes taking a look at our comment section?
On the YouTube channel? Yeah. Sometimes.
So Wes, just background information, Wes is our man who's always commenting as a first commenter under the videos, and also sometimes reminds me that when something didn't work out the way it should, and what I mean by that is you can schedule the videos to come out at a specific time. Sometimes I'm messing that up, and if it doesn't come out like the minute on that date, he's actually sending me a message over on Facebook saying like, what's about the video, right? And then I can actually make sure that it's published at that given time. So Wes has asked, and I think I think it's more of a joke. He's always just asking rubbish questions, and no offense, Wes, no offense. Maybe this is a serious question, so I shouldn't be as judgmental right away. So, can you also do occlusion training on the neck?
I mean, I would be interested in knowing that. You probably you could, but not for very long.
No. Have you ever heard of those people who are strangulating themselves while they are masturbating?
Yeah, my 11th grade English teacher taught us about that.
No, really?
Yeah, he put us
do it or what? Like in the classroom.
He like put a video, or we were watching a movie. It's called like, it was about building a house. It was like with the Anakin Skywalker actor, if people. But yeah, he basically does that, and like his like ceiling fan comes off, and he's like, "Do you guys know what he was doing?" We're like, "Yes, but can we please not talk about it? First of all, you're like 70 years old. Like he's like, it's called autoerotic asphyxiation." And I was like, "Can you please not go into further detail?"
Yeah, I mean that is one way to do the occlusion training for the neck. So give it a try, Wes, and let us know how it was. So we will move on to the next question. That is from Dolly. So, hey guys, thanks for all the information you spread and the effort you put into this work. I'm unfortunately a student right now with no student loans, so I can't support you on Patreon, but it's top on my list when I do get a job. So thank you very much, Dali, first and foremost. So let's move on to the question. I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think of following a full body ABC rotation type of program? Some weeks I'm super busy with early starts, and other weeks I can fit in 5 gym sessions very easily. So I was thinking of just rotating around 3 different full body days, A, B, and C, and going as much as I can. Thanks once again, guys. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great routine. I think that we get caught up wanting our microcycles to align with a calendar week, and this is something that, so typically we see, actually I'll break this down, just in case people aren't familiar. We see a macrocycle, that being kind of like your annual plan. We see the mesocycles, those being somewhere between like 3 to 6 weeks. That's what we define as your training block. And then a microcycle is typically a week, but it can be up to 2 weeks, and that's typically what we go programming and adjusting. So I think that a lot of the times we get caught up trying to make our microcycles fit calendar weeks, but in some people that's just not plausible. And what we can do is we can, for example, say, all right, this microcycle is going to have, let's say, 6 sessions where you're going to have A, B, C, and then repeat A, B, C. That's going to be your microcycle. That doesn't have to fit a calendar week. So you can set up a mesocycle with 4 or 5 microcycles and just kind of let the length of the mesocycle fall where it may. So let's say, for example, 1 week you're able to get all 6 sessions. Fine. Then your microcycle fit the calendar week. But if 1 week you're only able to get 4 sessions, then then in that calendar week, you got 4 sessions. And then in the next calendar week, it'll take you 2 more sessions to complete the microcycle. So it's hard because we always want to be starting things on Monday, ending them on Sunday. But if you can kind of let go of that, then you can set up a really good training program by just looking at things in terms of mesocycle and microcycle rather than just calendar week. What do you think of that, Pascal?
No, absolutely. And I totally agree with everything you said there. I have not really that much to add because I'm totally under the opinion that your training shouldn't be dictated by our calendar or the calendar week. If you want to do a, let's just say, push-pull leg split, right? So many people fall into the trap, oh shit, I have to start on Monday, have to have my last training session on Saturday to have the rest day on Sunday, right? That's not really what you need to do. If you want to have a rest day in between and your calendar and schedule does allow for that, then just throw in another rest day. I think that the only time where something like a fixed training protocol may come in handy is something like when you have a pretty fixed schedule in general in your life, where it's just, I don't know, let's say that on the weekends, you always only have time for your family because during the week you are busy with work and you can't possibly work out there on the weekends. Sure, a rotation there might not be the most optimal thing to do. However, in your case, because you're doing an A, B, and C workout, probably you're not running really into the risk of things in that department. And I think it's absolutely all right to do something like that. I mean, I don't see any kind of reason why not to. I rather would even encourage you to do something like that instead of keeping yourself limited to the calendar week.
Yeah, for sure. I think the calendar week, like Pascal said, is very useful if you have some absolute days where you just have to work out that day. So yeah, exactly. Pascal said, maybe you're an extremely busy person, and the only days that you can work out are Friday through Sunday because during the week you're just so busy. Then okay, we need to kind of stick by the calendar week. But if not, then you can just feel free to rotate it as you want.
Yeah. So next question. I have no idea how, since when we are recording, because we are now, as you guys can see, we are recording via Google Hangouts, not the typical way we record things. So, and it doesn't tell me since when we are recording. So, should we take one more question and then call it a day?
Sure.
Cool. So the last one is a little bit more like, yeah, easygoing. It's from Tyler, and Tyler is asking, who are your favorite Mr. Olympias?
Oh man, I don't follow Mr. Olympia that much. I'm gonna have to be really basic about this and just say Arnold, because if it wasn't for Arnold, maybe like the fitness industry just would not be what it is. I don't think that one single person has ever done so much for the lifting community as Arnold has. Maybe Joe Weider, but yeah, I definitely have to go with Arnold, and also because I don't know many others other than like Arnold, Jay Cutler, and Phil Heath. What about you, Pascal?
It really depends on whether we are talking about like true Mr. Olympia, the winner of it, or whether we are just talking about Mr. Olympia competitors, because not every one of the winners, I think, was, in my opinion, the greatest during that time. But yes, of course, I wasn't the judge there, so they were looking at other stuff, right? But when it comes to like the guys I found most pleasing with the physique, Brian Buchanan, absolutely amazing physique. His taper, I mean, his hip to shoulder waist ratio was just like insane. He has the most narrow hips I've ever seen on a open class competitor. Then Flex Wheeler and Sean Roden. It's funny because I'm not really following many of the Olympia competitors nowadays. But Sean Roden, I've been following since like, I think 3 years or so, because there was always something more classic to his physique. He wasn't like one of these big monsters. Yes, I mean, sure, he has an insane amount of muscle mass, but he wasn't like someone such as Big Ramy, for example, right? Which I did like. His symmetry is just pleasing to me, and yeah, other than that, I mean, we don't need to mention Ronnie. I mean, especially the early wins of Ronnie Coleman were just like, just look at him. He was just unbelievable. And if you've never seen or watched the documentary about Ronnie Coleman, you have to watch it. Just to hear what the other people have been saying about him, especially during that time. So Kevin Lerone, for example, when they interviewed him, it's so funny so funny when he tells the story about Ronnie's first win at Mr. Olympia. And yeah, you just have to watch it. And then you even gain more respect for someone like Ronnie Coleman, because it just makes you realize how freakish he was, like truly freakish. And just take a look at his back shots. He had the greatest back of all time, in my opinion. And I mean, yeah, just take a look at a couple of pictures. It was just insane. And yeah, that, I mean, now I'm named a couple of guys, but yeah, I think you can all, they are all quite different in the way they look. Cool. Then Miguel, I have nothing more to say. Do you want to actually say something? Oh no, that's not true. I have something to say. And that is the plug for the London Seminar 2019 on the 11th and 12th of May. And now the tickets are live, and you better make sure to go to our website, or just click the link in the description below to make sure to buy a ticket. Maybe you still am lucky to get a VIP ticket, but I can't promise you that at that time, because the tickets have gone live on Friday. 3 days have passed, and the past years it was always gone in a matter of minutes. But probably there are still some early birds there. Also limited. Once they are gone, they are gone. And then only the normal tickets are around. So better make sure to purchase your ticket now. It's going to be better than ever. Gabriel Fondero, James Hoffman, and Mike Israel, and of course, yeah, Steve and I, we are present as well. So yeah, go and make sure to buy a ticket.
Do that. Those people are very, very smart.
Yeah. So Miguel, it was a pleasure having you on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So maybe if Steve isn't coming back like next week because he decides to actually really commit to that homeless lifestyle in Spain, I will get you on again. I mean, we will see.
For sure. I think Steve is going to quite enjoy his life, except I don't know what he'll do without his cereal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, guys.